Hey guys, Effie here. I'm back with a seasonal card today. I'm using our Winter Cardinal 4x6 stamp set. I'm going to take this beautiful cardinal body and I'm going to stamp it using our lipstick red dye ink onto some cardstock. After I've stamped the image, I'm going to die cut it using the coordinating die. After I cut it out, I'm going to set it aside and then I'm going to start stamping my florals. I'll be using our Peony Notes 6x8 stamp set bundle, and I'll stamp the first layer of the florals first in our Valentine red dye ink. The second layer will be stamped in our Found Topaz dye ink, and then the third layer in our Aspen cocoa dye ink. Now, since the Valentine red is a bit of a deeper red, I'm using two shades of medium and dark tone browns as my shaded layers. This is a trick that I use when I want a deeper red. I actually use browns to get that darker shade. So once I'm finished with my florals, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my greens. At first I used the basil mojito for the second layer of my leaves. I'm going to go back and stamp this later in our Everglade moss because this is the first layer that I'm stamping in our deep emerald, and it kind of overpowers that basil mojito because I stamped right over the darker color. So after I stamp the deep emerald, you can see it kind of blends into the basil mojito. So now I'm just going to go ahead and stamp Everglade moss using that second layer foliage large stamp. Once I'm finished stamping, I'm just going to take the coordinating die and die cut this beautiful cluster. And since I stamped this in deeper red tones, it kind of reminds me of holiday. So it's a great way to use this non-holiday floral stamp in a holiday setting or project. And this is a great way to stretch your stamps if you have this set. So instead of just using it for, regular floral cards, you can also use them in your holiday cards. So next I just stamped some of these pine branches that come in our Winter Cardinal set, and I stamped it in our Deep Emerald, and I stamped all the sizes and die cut them using the coordinating die. Then I'm going to set everything aside and just blend on some Cobalt Breeze onto an A2 panel using a stencil brush, and this way I get a really nice light blend. Once I finish blending on my color, I'm going to hit the panel with my heat tool because whenever you add dye ink to cardstock, it does stay wet a little bit, and I want the panel to be completely dry because I'll be doing some white heat embossing using this snow stamp from the Winter Cardinal set. So I just stamped this snow cluster on the top half of my blended panel with some clear embossing ink, and then I just poured on some white embossing powder and then heat the whole thing with my heat tool. And this will serve as my winter background scene that my cardinal and peony cluster will rest upon. Once I finished heat embossing, I took the largest die from our double stitch rectangles large die collection, and I die cut my A2 size panel, and this die will just add stitching to the edges. Then I adhered my blended panel onto a top folding A2 card base. Then I'm going to start mounting the other elements of my card using dimensional foam tape. I'm going to start with my Peony Notes cluster first, and I'm just going to adhere that onto the bottom portion of my card base. Then I'm going to mount my cardinal. When I start mounting a bunch of different elements together, I usually start with one small foam square in the center of each element, and this way I have a little bit of wiggle room as I add other elements around my main element. And then later I'll go back and I'll just add some more foam tape under areas that need more support. Once I finish assembling my scene, I just white heat embossed the sentiment from our Winter Cardinal set onto some black cardstock, and I cut it out as a sentiment strip. Then I cut out an additional strip that I'm going to put behind the black strip. This I created using our silver glitter adhesive paper. So I just took a strip of the silver glitter paper, adhered it onto some white cardstock, and then I cut that strip into another sentiment strip, which I glued right behind the black strip. And then I mounted that sentiment right onto my base using two foam squares. Next, I just added some clear rhinestones all around my card, and this is going to give it a really nice, clean, embellished look because these rhinestones don't have any backing on them, so they kind of look like raindrops or dewdrops. And I just adhered them using multi-matte medium. And then for the last step, I just added one piece of foam square behind my cardinal's tail to pop that portion of the cardinal up. And my card is now complete. I hope you all enjoyed today's video and project. I really enjoyed making this seasonal card. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.